In this video, I'm going to cover fiscal policy. We can think of the economy like a car. If you're driving 120 miles per hour, this is not sustainable. So that would equate to low unemployment. If you're driving too slow, that would equate to high unemployment. 70 miles per hour is sustainable, and we can look at that as full employment. Some cars have the capacity to drive faster than others, so we think of that as industrial nations versus third world nations. If the engine or the technology or the gas mileage, the productivity increases, then the car can drive at even higher speed. So that would be equivalent to increasing the long run aggregate supply curve or shifting that to the right rather. The government has the power to speed up or slow the economy by using fiscal and/or monetary policy. As you know, consumers or consumption is the most important part or the biggest part of GDP. As you know, consumption is the most important part of the economy. Consumers will spend a certain amount no matter what, and we refer to this as autonomous consumption. And this is usually to pay for necessities. So consumer spending is made up of autonomous and disposable income, that the income that you have to spend after taxes. If incomes are less than autonomous spending, then there is what we call dis-savings or negative savings. But what if incomes fall and people stop buying things? Who will step in to help? The government can step in to help in two ways: fiscal policy, which are actions that are taken by Congress, and then monetary policy, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve. Right now, we're going to focus on fiscal policy. Discretionary fiscal policy is where Congress creates a bill that's designed to change aggregate demand through either government spending or taxation. One problem is this often takes time because of the bureaucracy. So in a recession, Congress would want to increase spending, for example. Non-discretionary fiscal policy are what we call automatic stabilizers. So this is permanent spending or taxation laws that are enacted to work to counter cyclical problems to stabilize the economy. So for example, when GDP goes down, government spending automatically increases and taxes automatically fall. And this is done through welfare programs, unemployment programs, and income tax. Contractionary fiscal policy is putting the brakes on the economy. So laws that would reduce inflation, decrease GDP, and close an inflationary gap in the economy. So this is done by decreasing government spending or increasing taxes. Or you could have a combination of the two. Putting the gas on the economy is referred to, or accomplished rather, through expansionary fiscal policy. So laws that reduce unemployment and increase GDP to close a recessionary gap in the economy. So this is done by increasing government spending or decreasing taxes. Again, you could have a combination of both of these things to accomplish the goal. So assume that Congress uses discretionary fiscal policy to manipulate the economy, and the marginal propensity to consume is 0.8. So this would represent a recessionary or negative output gap. So you would need expansionary fiscal policy to increase GDP. So what the government could increase government spending or decrease taxes. And in order to get from here to here, you would need $100 billion to close that gap. Here's the opposite example where you have an inflationary gap. So you'd need contractionary fiscal policy to do this. So you would decrease government spending or increase taxes. If the MPC is 0.5, then a minus 10 billion would be needed to close this positive or inflationary gap. Here's another example where if MPC is 0.8, then the government would need to spend $4 billion to get from this recessionary gap to full employment. Or if they were going to use a tax cut, the amount of that tax cut would need to be $5 billion. There are three problems or lag times that are associated with fiscal policy. So first of all, Congress has to recognize that there's a problem. Congress has to take the time to enact legislation, and then there's time associated with actually executing or implementing whatever the legislation is going to be. And a practice question on fiscal policy, and the answer would be D. In this practice question, the answer would be C. For this practice question, the answer is B. In this one, the answer is C. In this one, the correct answer would be C. And the correct answer for this problem is B. Here's a practice FRQ along with the answer. And another practice FRQ with the answer.